and welcome to another M.E.R.G.E marriage moment. I am Evangelist Bernadette Badio.
And I'm Nesly Badio.
And today we want to talk to you about a dirty word that some say in marriage is called compromise. And the title is The Art of Compromise.
Yep.
Understanding that in order for you to have a healthy marital relationship, there has to be compromise between you and your spouse. And the dictionary describes it as an agreement reached by adjustment of conflicting or opposing claims. Compromise is essential to a healthy marital relationship, and we want to talk to you about a couple of examples. One of those examples is finances in marriage. What are some ways that you have to compromise in terms of finances in marriage?
Well, finances in marriage, it's very important that we do talk to each other and then make sure that we both understand each other, and that therefore we both have a goal, and then we accept that goal. So that's where we go forward.
Another example is how to raise your children. You got to compromise on or come to an agreement on how to raise your children. So what would be your advice to couples in terms of rearing children?
Well, that's the best thing to do. Don't yell at your children, because that can make an impact on the children. Because once you do that, which is that gonna make the child really scared. So therefore, that you have to make sure. It's the same thing you do with your wife. You know what I mean? So when you talk to your wife, you have to make sure that your tone of voice, doesn't really escalate. So to make sure that you have a level of speaking, so where your wife or your children can understand it is you. Because once your voice is changing, now your children or your spouse can know that there's something wrong.
One of the things that I think is also important is determining if you're coming from two different religious backgrounds, how to raise your children in a religious background, coming together, compromising on how to raise your children in that way. So rearing your children is definitely an area that you want to talk about before you get married, so that you're compromising on what's best for the child.
But it's very important, because that's one of the reasons the Bible even tell you that. So make sure that we do both believe the same belief. Because if you don't, that's what's gonna have an impact in your marriage. Because I believe in God, I believe in Jesus Christ, and then they believe on something else. So now it's
conflict,
exactly,
and confusion. Absolutely. The other thing that I thought about, even with us when we were buying our house, we had to go through like some major compromises because we both wanted something different. So my list of must-haves for our home was different. And so we had to compromise on
each other,
on what we both wanted. So that's sort of like a personal example that we had to come to terms with when we were compromising on our home. And also just want to say that it's so important that you two, as husband and wife, when you come together, that you're compromising on all issues, that it can't be one-sided. It has to be, you got to be in agreement, or in order to, keep peace in the home, or otherwise there's going to be conflict all the time.
Yeah.
So just a point, the compromise has to be done in a way that both of you feel that you're coming away with something. Like, it can't be all one way and not enough the other way.
So that's what the compromise is. It's just not compromise just on one side, it's both sides.
Absolutely. A compromise should not be forced or coerced. It has to be given in a way that, again, both parties feel like they are being heard. And that's so important.
Yeah. And then, that's a compromise means I'm willing to give up because of what? Because I love you. It's not because, hey, I'm going to give it up because you're the man, or I'm going to give it up because you're the wife. No, because of the love, that's the reason we're willing to compromise. But we don't compromise everything, but certain things you make sure you compromise.
I agree. So I use an acronym, OPEN, to give out some points and some practical tips. O, be open to hearing what your spouse has to say and allow him and her to use their voice when it comes to opinions and concerns without feeling judged or belittled. So make sure that you are allowing your spouse to voice their opinion or concern.
Well, I think I mentioned that on the previous scene that we done before. When we were dating, we are willing to talk to each other and listen to each other. And we can even spend all night talking with each other. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? But now, it's, as a matter of fact, not even the same thing. It's better now because now it's the friendship is a little bit closer than before. So therefore, that the same way you used to talk, that's the same way you talk to your spouse.
Good point. P, practice. You want to practice or model behavior that you would like your spouse to show you in terms of a compromise. So during particularly tough or uncomfortable decisions or conversations, you want to model the behavior that you desire from your spouse. E, engage in healthy dialogue. So you want to encourage you to refrain from using negative words or even tones that we talked about that would cause there to be feelings of bitterness or anxiety from your spouse that you don't want to use. Again, don't want to use words that are negative.
And it should not be, because we are Christians. As a matter of fact, we're not only husband and wife, but we are brothers and sisters in Christ. So we have to really, actually respect each other.
Absolutely. And the last one is negotiate, which is, I think, is the first cousin of compromise. And the definition is to try and work out an agreement between two parties that each have something out of the deal. So whenever you're compromising, you're negotiating. What works for one might not work for another, but you come together and you compromise on what works the best for both of you.
Well, we come to an agreement. So that's what it is, which is we compromise something, and a partial of the thing that we compromise, and the vice versa. So then we come to an agreement together. So that's where we come. So it's not really compromising, we just come to an agreement.
And so finally, compromising is working with your spouse, coming to an agreement that you both are comfortable with, that you both have come into agreement with, and you will find that working with these tools will help strengthen your relationship and reduce conflict because you're learning how to compromise.
Exactly.
So thank you for listening. Drop us a comment below and let us know about a situation or a circumstance where you and your spouse had to compromise and how you worked it out in your relationship. And as always, happy merging.
Happy merging.